Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the Let's Talk Dog Business show / Let's Talk Dog Business podcast.
Yeah, we've not done this one before.
No, welcome to our studio. This is us. This is where we record all of our podcasts. And this is a live podcast.
It is indeed.
And today, very excited about this.
And today we are joined by the lovely Daniel Shaw. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, we're really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's great to be here. Very exciting, and very exciting to see your awesome studio as well. It's looking fantastic.
It does look cool, doesn't it? I never get to see it this much, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, fab. Wow. Yeah, so this is a bit of an unusual one today then, because you were going to join us for a podcast episode anyway, and we were also going to get you live in on the show. So we just thought, let's just double whammy it and we'll do both at the same time.
Combine the two together. And it's just something a bit different for us because we've never done a live episode on the podcast before. So
yeah, so we'll see what happens. So Daniel, then, for anyone either watching in the Facebook group or now listening to us, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do in the dog industry.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an animal behaviourist, so I primarily work with dogs and cats. But I'll try and stick to mostly dog stuff today. I usually throw in one or two cat stories if I get excited, but we'll try and stick to mostly dog things today. And I work in the southeast of England, so most of my business is based in Kent and surrounding areas such as sort of southeast London. We get quite a lot, Surrey, East Sussex, and areas around there. And I run a business called Animal Behaviour Kent. And so as well as offering behaviour consulting, we also offer a lot of online education and in-person education for dog professionals. So that includes things like I've got some online courses which we offer. So the big ones like psychological trauma from a neuroscience perspective, as well as sort of quite a broad perspective to think about how we can get strategies in place to support animals that have had those experiences. And I also offer some in-person education events, and the most key one being our annual conference, the ABK conference, which takes place, or has for the last 2 years, taken place in November. So it's going to be coming up in November this year, which is super, super exciting. So yeah, we've got kind of a few things going on. The behaviour consulting side involves a few different things. So we do in-person consultations for helping clients that are struggling with behavior issues with their dogs. We see quite a lot of aggression cases, quite a lot of separation anxiety cases are probably the two biggest parts of our intake. And then I also do quite a lot of assessments for foster organisations that are looking to see whether a child can be safely placed, or an adoption organisation that's looking to see whether a child can be safely placed around a dog, and whether that dog poses any risks, and if we need any mitigations in place, if so. And also expert witness work as well. So again, looking at dogs that have been often seized by the police, or owners that are dealing with Dangerous Dogs Act legislation, and often assessing the dogs and assessing homes to provide courts with information about whether that dog is safe to be in the home, and again, whether there's any mitigations that we need to put in place. So quite a lot of different things really on the behaviour consulting side, which is quite an exciting part of the job, really.
I mean, I can't even keep up that. Wow. How on earth are you managing all of that on a day-to-day basis? That is a huge amount of incredible stuff, but wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's why I did my master's in neuroscience this year, because I just thought I just should need to fill up my schedule a bit more. So I'm currently sort of just crying through the final 4 weeks or so, 2 weeks even now, of my dissertation. And then I'm really looking forward to having some time come August, and feeling a little bit freer and getting on with some cool stuff business-wise.
Well, yeah, because your conference is happening in November, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And of course, you guys are going to be there, which is super exciting. So you're one of our exhibition holders and sponsors. So we're really, really lucky that we've got some awesome sponsors for this conference. I mean, I think you often go to conferences and there's kind of people that you just think, oh, God, I'm not really interested in this. But we're, really lucky that we've got 6, I think. Am I right in saying 6? I'll double check that. 5 or 6 really, really awesome sponsors that it's just going to be part of the learning experience. You've got you guys to talk about business. You've got Hannah Capon from Canine Arthritis Management that you can, go and chat with, and even learn with in the evening about thinking about obviously canine arthritis, pain, all those sorts of things. You've got the muzzle movement. Just making sure I get that right. Who obviously released these awesome muzzles, which are super, super important these days as well. And be making a really big difference with recent changes in dangerous dogs legislation. So it is so, so lucky with the sponsors this year.
It is. It's going to be an epic conference, I feel. So what was it that made you decide that you wanted to go into creating a big conference then? Because you've got some decent names actually speaking there as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we have, like, as you say, we've got some really good names. And I think, so I first went into this in 2023. And I guess I started thinking about it late 2022 when I started thinking, there's loads of people in the UK. And actually, we've expanded beyond the UK this year. But in that 2022, when I was first thinking about it, I was thinking there's loads of people in the UK that I'd really like to go and see, and I'd like to really go and learn from. And they're all over the place. So very selfishly, I guess, I thought, it'd be really nice if I could get them all to come to me and present on a lovely topic, and I could get some learning in, and we could have a really fun event, because there's not many big dog events where I'm based in the southeast of England. And I just I was chatting to Andrew Hale, actually, who was very supportive of the idea. And he was, of course, one of the speakers in the first conference as well. And he'd sort of done a bit of conferencey stuff in the past in terms of helping with the logistics of organizing these things. So he gave me some ideas in terms of how we might be able to organize it, how to set it up, what to think about in terms of pricing. And we got this first one in place, which was primarily UK speakers. And the reason for that is primarily because of cost as well, because actually what we've done this year is we've got some speakers coming in from abroad, but we can't have as many of those because it costs a lot more in terms of travel and flights. We've got Mike Shikashio coming from the US. Flights from the US aren't particularly cheap. Similarly, long haul flights are not cheap. So that first year we were a much lower budget. So we're thinking about primarily UK speakers, and we got it off the ground. We worked really, really hard, got those sales of enough tickets to break even, make sure everyone, got their money back. And we did, I think, make a little bit of money. We didn't make a huge amount of money. This certainly wouldn't be something you'd be relying on for your earner of the year. But we broke even and made a small profit, which was fantastic. And that allowed us to then really invest in this year's conference. And this year's has been fantastic in terms of actually organizing that from a business perspective, because we've kind of got those people that came last year that really enjoyed it, which was fantastic, and wanted to come again. So many of the people that have signed up this year are repeat customers, which is fantastic. We've got people that didn't come last year that heard about it last year and then wanted to come. And we've also got a new audience as well as things have grown. So it's just been a really exciting progression with the conference. And I'm super, super excited for it this year, because as you say, we've got an awesome lineup, and like last year, I'm going to get to, and hopefully you're all going to get to learn from some amazing people that have all come to me or nearby me.
Yeah, I love it. I love conferences. I think they're great. I'm really looking forward to going to yours as well. It's going to be pretty cool. So I suppose I want to understand a little bit more then on knowing your audience then for that conference. And as you say that it's grown over the last couple of years. What would you say you may not even know the answer to this, but what would you say then from the amount of dog professionals that are going to attend these events? What do you think their current struggles are in this day and age of being a trainer, behaviourist, whatever title you want to give yourself, other than trying to learn more CPD?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think one of the reasons people enjoyed it last year that I picked up on was actually not just the education that they got there, but also the atmosphere. because we had a really, really nice atmosphere, a really inclusive atmosphere. I'd reached out to loads of local trainers and invited them to come along. And I think one thing people really took away from that is actually they felt really warm. They felt really at home in that environment. And I think that's really important, because I think one thing people really struggle with in this industry, which we all know, is the fact it can be quite toxic in terms of people's behavior online, particularly, on Facebook, social media, other social medias. And I think people are often looking for a way or a place where they can have a break from that and actually and feel included and just feel like they're in a safe space with people they know, and they're not going to be judged for what they do. They're going to be able to talk about the work they do, and they're going to be able to get advice, meet peers, have that sort of networking opportunity as well. And I think that was a really, really valuable point. I think a lot of people came away just saying, I had so much fun, and it's certainly not down to me. It's down to the fact we had, 5 amazing speakers. We had Hannah Malloy doing a great job emceeing, and all of that coming together meant just people had a really good time. And I think that was a big impact on why people enjoyed it, and kind of what people were looking for, not just the educational factor. And we can talk about the educational factor as well, because I've certainly seen some trends in terms of what people do seem to really enjoy. But I think that was definitely one big thing I picked up on.
As far as the subjects go for the speakers, is that something that you and the speaker would chat about before the conference? Do they determine what they speak about, or do you give ideas of what you think that you're, knowing the industry, what people want?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. Last year we kind of had the theme around empathy, which is quite a broad theme. So people could kind of go in many different directions that they wanted to go. And I did chat to them, and I did give them some feedback on some of their talks. So they'd kind of send the talks over, and generally my feedback was, that sounds great, let's go with it. So it was pretty straightforward last year. This year we're focused around dog bites. And one of the challenges is we've got 10 speakers, right? So we've actually got to make sure that there's not too much overlap with some of those speakers. And that's where there has been a little bit more sort of back and forth in terms of really kind of finding some cool topics. And I think that's led to some really positive things. So to give you an example, Amber Batson's one of our speakers, and she's a vet and a behaviourist. And we've also got Robert Falconer-Taylor as one of our speakers, and he's also a vet behaviourist. And she was saying to me, obviously, I don't want to overlap with Robert and kind of do something that he's doing from that veterinary behaviour perspective. And Robert had already said to me, this is his idea, and he's come up with something really cool and unique. And I can't remember if I've released it yet, but if I haven't, then this is the big release. He's basically looking at sort of research around human psychiatric data and research, and looking at how research in humans and also other animals can be applied to dogs. So those sort of psychiatric models work and I guess don't work possibly as well for dogs, and then sort of looking at the applicability of them. So I said to Amber, well, this is what Robert's looking at. He's looking at kind of this very sort of researchy side of things from the psychiatric model. So I said, what about maybe looking at something related to medication, and maybe looking at even sort of thinking about the ups and downs, some of the side effects of medication, how that might come into dog bite situations. And I should say as well, the overall theme of the conference is dog bites. So that was obviously a kind of a broad influence on what influenced the speaker topics. So Amber's now come up with this really, really cool topic, which is basically called Meddling with Meds. And it's, as I say, looking at kind of the medication options when we're working with those sorts of aggression cases, and also looking at what behaviourists need to know as an outcome of when those medications have been decided on, and what some of the pros might be and the benefits to look out for that, but also what some of the drawbacks might be of that, and actually look out for a sign that maybe how to identify if an animal might not be doing so well on a particular medication as well. So how to kind of get that information, to feedback in a very objective way to the veterinary professional, and then facilitate that veterinary professional making an informed decision about whether that animal should stay on those meds or change meds. So it'll be a really, really interesting one. And she's also thinking about treating health conditions, and actually how the treatment of health conditions could influence behavior conditions as well. So it's just going to be fascinating. So I'm very, very excited for Amber's talk.
Amazing. So how did you actually come up with the concept for any of the conferences, I suppose? Have you found that, I don't know, like, do you end up doing research or something throughout the year as to see like what the big topics are that are what we as trainers, behaviorists, and everything underneath that then goes, right, what
so this is where you'll probably have a better idea of what I should be doing than me, because what I just did was guessed. So I this year or last year we came up with the empathy theme because I just sort of thought it had to have a theme, and that's kind of seemed like a nice one to start off with. So as I say, really no kind of process with that. The dog bite thing, I think for me, there was a bit of an influence in terms of the fact dog bites are very topical at the moment. We've had a huge rise in dog bites in the UK, so it's a really important issue for us to be focusing on and thinking about. So that was a big factor. And it was also sort of looking at the speaking lineup that I got. So sort of realizing we're doing this dog bite topic and thinking, we've got people like Helen Howell, who is an expert in the assessment of aggression cases. We've got Mike Shakashi, who's an expert at working with aggression and staying safe around aggression and all these sorts of things. So sort of a little bit built around the speaking lineup and actually what matched up really well there as well. And I think people are certainly enjoying that kind of continuity of the theme. And I think that's a really interesting one to expand on as well, because this sort of idea of the theme and building things around the speakers, I don't think I or anyone else yet has kind of taken that to even the next level of that, because I think we could really be expanding on that more and kind of having conferences where speakers work together to really kind of put together such a beautiful educational experience where it kind of flows from speaker to speaker, and they've actually coordinated their topics so that you kind of get a bit of a learning journey through it. And I think there's some awesome opportunities for things like this in the future that no one, as far as I know anyway, maybe someone has, or maybe in other industries. But as far as I know, no one's really looked at this in the dog industry yet. And I think that would be really, really cool if people did.
We're very excited about this. We're actually going to do our first conference next year as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. I know.
We are very, and now we've put it out there, it will definitely be happening.
You're committed now.
Accountability and all that.
So I'm always curious as to, anybody who, I suppose as well, like I want to delve into all of these different things you are doing. And as we said at the start of this, like you are doing a hell of a lot. Like there is so much going on. And from a business owner perspective, how would you say that you are either coping with all of that stuff that's going on, or on the flip side, how then when you are, because I know you mentioned that you're doing like a big education piece as well, like predominantly for dog professionals as well. What is it that you think that you're seeing people are either struggling with, or your own experiences, and how they or you are even coping with the plethora of things that are happening?
Yeah, so I think there's certainly a big part of the thing people are struggling with, and this is one thing that's come up in our feedback forms from the conference, and that's definitely something I'd recommend anyone doing if they're organising any sort of event or anything like that, is the feedback forms are amazing. And something I learned with that as well is if you can get people to fill them out in person, they're much more likely to fill them out. So it does give you more work in terms of having to transcribe them. But if you can actually give them out in person, you get a lot more responses, because otherwise people get in their email inbox and just forget about it. But something we did pick up on is I think there's a lot of frustration around working with people and the people element of the dog industry. And actually, that's not something that I offer a huge amount on because it's not really my area. But it's something we're kind of tying into some of our future educational options with thinking about. For example, this year coming up, we've got Andrew thinking about kind of that sort of perception aspect and how we can think about helping people adjust their perspective when seeing these aggression cases. So I think that's a really big issue that sort of popped up. And I think another part of the people issue is also kind of sometimes the overwhelm of running a business, right? Because you're dealing with so many inquiries. And I don't know about you guys for your respective or joint businesses. Now, I'm not sure if I can't remember if you guys have joined up your training business.
Everything's joined.
You're all joined.
Including our words, it seems.
So, yeah, I don't know if this is the same for you, but I would say the majority of inquiries I get don't necessarily convert to bookings. We get, so many inquiries where people are just kind of, they don't know who we are. They think we're dog sitters, which, is all this sort of stuff. They think they can help us with we think we're the person to help with agility cases, and the beautiful thing is obviously when we get those sorts of inquiries, because we've got quite a good local network, we can refer them on and kind of say, actually, maybe go and see this person or go and see this person. But it can certainly be overwhelming. And especially when we're talking about, we've got, an open phone line, right? So actually a phone call, even for someone that's not going to book, can sometimes still take quite a lot of time. We have to have some methods to get the people off the phone sometimes, as well as rotten as it sounds. But, it can still take up quite a lot of your time. So I think sometimes, I guess this kind of comes into what you guys are doing. And this is maybe why we should all attend your business conference next year.
Damn straight. Nice plug.
Because, I think that has a big impact on actually your mental health and actually just kind of how much you enjoy your business. Because I think, most of us come into this sort of business because we like working with dogs. And actually, some of us, I would say, come in because we like working with people. I really enjoy working with people. But at the same time, I would say I would divide that into saying I enjoy working with people when I'm there in a consultation with people, working on getting a plan in place and figuring stuff out in terms of helping them identify some solutions and practice some solutions for their dog. Whereas I don't really enjoy answering the phone to people that much and kind of saying, actually, this is when I'm free. Do you want to book something in there? No, this is what we do. I find that a little bit mundane, but and I think ways to streamline that and actually having ways to kind of set boundaries around that probably make a really big difference. So I think definitely that's an educational gap that we could, and something I could as well, all benefit from. One thing that helps me with it is I've got an awesome team member, Boo Blackhurst, who does a lot of our sort of the admin side of it now, which is fantastic. So she manages a lot of our incoming bookings, some of my timetable for all of that, which has just made a huge difference.
So you've got a team around you, presumably, from what you're saying then. How many have you got? Okay, one. Okay. So my next question was going to be for you. When did you make that decision to, and I suppose even just taking one person on is a decision, isn't it? To go, I can't do this all by myself. I need a bit of help with it. I need to offload some of the other duties that maybe either you don't like doing or you don't have time to, or your specialty lies elsewhere. How did you come to that decision?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's purely just as the business built up and we realized we needed more, or I realized we needed more people to support with just the consulting side of it before I actually was thinking so much about the admin side of it. And we kind of went up to having 3 people. We're currently at 2 people, but we're looking to sort of, again, grow again a little bit more, especially in terms of thinking about kind of expanding into classes and things like that. It's not something, as I say, that I necessarily enjoy doing so much, but I think, because we've got quite a good platform, we've got quite a good local platform, we're in quite a good place to start offering some classes. And when I say classes, we're going to tailor this a little bit so it's more around what we do, which is the behavior consulting. So we're not thinking so much puppy classes, but actually thinking about things like classes where dogs can work on learning to do sort of enrichment games or free work with their owners, or working to do a sort of new approach to recall that my team member Boo Blackhurst has kind of got some really cool ideas on. So we're kind of behaviorally focused classes is something we might expand into, and that's again something because I live quite close to Hannah Malloy. She's got loads and loads of experience doing that. So I'm hoping that she's going to work with us at some point in the future to kind of, we've been talking about it for years now, actually, but never got around to it because of the time issue. But somehow expanding into a few more local classes and things like that at some point. So that might be something we've got on the agenda in future. But again, I think, some of it is just built around the business that we've got, and then just thinking about if we do want to expand. And for me, the expanding at this point actually isn't so much for my schedule. It's kind of more to make sure that if other people want to work with me and kind of work as a part of Animal Behaviour Kent, actually that they've got a timetable that's filled in a way that they really enjoy as well. So I think, I just think we need to make it a nice experience for everyone that really tailors to their skill set and what they enjoy if they are working with us in the industry.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because culture of an organisation is so important to its success, isn't it? So if you're already thinking like that and going, I want somebody who's not only going to benefit us, but it's going to benefit them as well. And it's actually going to be something they enjoy doing, rather than, I think it can be so easy to just have that sort of perspective of going, well, it's got to just work for us. When actually, if you get the right people on and you include them in your business making decisions and where the business is going to go and all of the values and the mission around that business, then you're more likely to build a really successful business.
It makes a huge difference. And I think for anyone listening or watching us on Facebook, and by the way, if you are watching us on Facebook, feel free to ask questions in the comments and we can pose them to Daniel, or we can help answer them as well. But it's when you get that culture bit right, as Vicky was just saying, even if you are just a one-man band at the moment and it's just you and your current mindset is, I'm never, ever going to have staff. I'm not doing it. I don't want the hassle. I don't want any of this and I don't want any of that.
I don't want to let go. No one else is good enough.
Yes.
I've had all those thoughts.
Yeah, it is. It's all this stuff, isn't it?
And actually, can I just interject in there, when Joe and I merged the training business, how bad was I with all this? I didn't want to let any of it go. I didn't want to let any of it go.
No, you didn't.
I was like, do I really? And I trusted her implicitly, but I was like, this is scary.
Yeah, she trusted me with this business. She didn't trust me with her dog training business.
Yeah, the dog training business was after this business. I was like, yeah, I'll do that with you, but I'm not sure about doing the training with you. But that was a big thing for me, actually, to have that kind of mindset shift about it.
Sure, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But no, it is, isn't it? I would say it's rare. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's rare, I think, in this industry, and I appreciate that is a blanket statement, that you go into it thinking big. Now, there are definitely a few, like a percentage of people that do that. We're working with a few of them that have absolutely gone into it thinking, yes, I can see it being a big multi-six-figure business where I am the step back and I've got a team doing all the stuff, and they can see that. But I would say on a whole that is a much smaller percentage. However, in our opinion anyway, if you get your hobby that you love working so well for you because you do actually plan it like a business, you treat it like a business, and you allow for that bigger growth mindset, I suppose, in thinking about exactly what the business is set out to achieve, not necessarily what you as the owner want, but what the business is capable of doing, then you naturally start creating that culture, even if it's just for yourself, so that when somebody does come on board, even just to alleviate some admin problems, because we all get bogged down in it. Like you've already mentioned that you hate doing the phone call side of it. And it becomes a bit of a laborious task, doesn't it? Because you're like, oh God, I'm going to be on the phone now for like 40 minutes per call. By the way, we can help shrink that down to like,
I was going to say, strategy around the calls.
But it's, once you then need to start offloading some of this stuff, because you do get bigger, because you get really good at what you're known for and all of this other stuff, then having that culture already there makes it so much easier when you bring a team member in. And I think you alluded to as well with, what was her name? Boo
Blackhurst.
Boo Blackhurst.
Boo, brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. You'll meet her this year because she does a lot of the organisation side on the day of the conference. So she'll be helping me out.
But what I really like is like the way you talk about it, like there's a fondness there, and it's in a way that actually you're willing to listen to what ideas she's got as well, like with that recall thing you was talking about. And that's really nice. That's going to help anybody in any business if you've got that nice relationship to really move it forward, I suppose. So, yeah. So
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
No, I think that's so true, isn't it? Because I think what you've just said kind of highlights to me is how with me and Boo, what the nice thing is there is we've got some different skills. She's been working in the industry longer than I have, so she's got some really cool skills and awesome experience that she can kind of bring to the table. But she's also probably not the best person for setting up a website and all of that sort of thing. I don't know. So she's, so we kind of bring, I feel bad now that I'm saying she's bad at website. She may be very good at websites, but it's what I mean is we're kind of bringing our own different skills to the business. And I think that's what's really nice is, I can look after the website. She's doing a really good job on some of our social media at the moment, which is fantastic. And she's kind of writing us weekly posts, which are getting a lot of engagement and sort of keeping that side of things up, which actually, interestingly enough, makes more of a difference for our online education side of things than it does for our incoming inquiry side of things. Our incoming inquiries much more come from the website. So actually, interestingly there, because she doesn't really like the education side of it, she's not interested in kind of going on camera and talking about this is how you do this and that in the same way that I do. So if you think about it, she's kind of doing stuff to promote my side of things. I'm doing stuff to promote her side of things, which is, I think really, really nice. And it is kind of nice when you can kind of get people together that have those different skills and both really get the benefit from them.
Yeah, and that's how it should be as well, because I think sometimes when we are looking to recruit or make the team a bit bigger, we sometimes just look at, do I like everything about that person and does it gel with me? And it absolutely should in terms of the personality of the person, and especially if there's an existing team, they've got to slot in and fit that culture. But I think we need to look at it like they have the opposite skill sets. So Joe and I have got completely opposite skill sets in the business. And I think that's why it works really nicely, actually, because of, you're really good at
what am I good at, Vicky?
She's really good at getting lots of things done on a list and ticking them off and go, quick, we've done that thing. I quite like the more creative side, and you don't as much.
I hate the creative side.
So I think that's why it does work so well, because we are really similar in lots of ways, in our personalities probably, but then in the skill set, it should be different. And I think that's where sometimes people maybe don't look at it as a whole.
No, and it's bringing everybody along on that journey with you. So we're really big, as you all are hopefully starting to get the idea now, really big on the overall strategy of everything. Like businesses need to have, and I know that sounds really bossy of me, but businesses need to have an overall strategy so that you all know where you're going. And then when you've got team members involved, they need to be privy to that overall strategy. They need to almost even have a say in it, which gets a lot of people's backs up when we suggest things like this. Because they're like, what? I'm the business owner. They are the employees. They are over there. But it's like, well, no, actually, if we incorporate everybody in everything, then you're all working towards the same goal ultimately. And it does make everything a lot easier. And something I think I can kind of loop into this is that you come across as really big on collaboration, which we love. And it's something, again, we go on about a lot because we all need each other. We all have got different skill sets. So it's almost like offering that culture out externally. And like you're jumping in to help launch partner our business basics course as well, aren't you? And that's all done through collaboration because we're building relationships with people. And I think it's something that you do really well and it really comes across.
Yeah, I think well, that's very nice of you to say, firstly. Thank you. And I think that's so true because I think, none of us, when we're thinking about the educational side of it, are going to be an expert in everything. Obviously, I'm not an expert in marketing and business sort of management and that side of things. I'm not an expert in, say, ethology or something like that. So, kind of all these broad different things that we might want to focus on being part of an educational package when we're thinking about providing really high value CPD for other professionals in our industry. I think it makes so much sense. And almost actually, if you want a really good product, and if you want a product that maybe offers and encompasses all these sorts of different types of things, a little bit like we're doing with the conference, or a little bit like, some of the big schools do. So thinking of like, Grisha Stewart's Academy, or, Mike Shikashio's, even though that's a little bit more focused to aggression only, he still brings in lots of different kind of skills. And I think, and he does a really good job promoting lots of different people from different backgrounds and different corners of the industry. And I think that is such a valuable thing, because it just means that the product that he's offering then, or the product that Grisha's offering, or the product that we're offering at the conference, is better because of that.
Yeah, it's just such an important piece, isn't it? And what's your view on then, with the current landscape in dog trainer world, on how we could all do better collaborative work with one another?
That's a really good question. I think certainly the on the ground in your local area aspect is one area that we could think about collaborating more. So I think, as I say, I think I mentioned this to you guys the other week. I'm quite lucky that the area that I used to live, I've moved now, but the area that I used to live, we had a really good network of people that all did kind of work together really nicely. So like I said, if you need this person, if you need a dog walker, go to this person. If you need an agility trainer, if you go to this person. If you're looking for some man trailing, go for this one. I think that makes a really, really big difference. And I think something else and kind of local area side of things I saw with the conference is, to get people to help out with some of the management side of the conference. I just emailed some of the local trainers and said, do you mind just coming and helping on the day of the conference? We'll give you a free ticket if you can come and help sign people in and sort out gift bags and all of that sort of stuff. And it was a really, really nice atmosphere. And actually, although I knew these people on kind of social media and stuff, weirdly enough, even though that they're your local people, you don't see them in person a lot. So it was actually quite nice to see them all in person. And I think that was really nice. And then kind of zooming out a little bit more, I think there's so much that we can do collaboratively to make a difference, working together through the power of social media, the internet, and all that offers, I think both you and I kind of regularly meet with people all across the world and kind of work together on projects. I know you've had some guests on the podcast, I think, that are from the US. Am I right in saying that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's an awesome thing. And I think if you think about kind of what the goals of that are, there's offering high quality CPD for dog professionals. So actually really, really helping people in their day-to-day life. And then I think also making a change for dogs, and whether that be, again, helping professionals do a better job with and be able to come into their cases with a better toolbox, a metaphorical toolbox, that is, before anyone panics and thinks. And then also, I think kind of particularly thinking about the social change side of things. And then again, thinking back to what Hannah's been doing, Hannah Malloy, with kind of AppDog, which is the all-party parliamentary dog advisory welfare group. I think I've got that about right.
That is impressive.
I was going to say that is a good memory.
And really, really doing a fantastic job actually kind of pushing the government to make changes in terms of dog legislation, how we can help make legislation better for dogs and for people to keep people safer, but also, be more welfare orientated around dogs, be fairer to dogs and promote dogs having healthier, happier lives. So I think actually all those things. And when I've been to the AppDog meetings, and I spoke at one in, I think it's March 2023, so a year and a half ago almost. It was a really, really nice atmosphere. And again, there's a lot of collaboration there and a lot of talk of sort of how we can kind of make this change. And of course, we just had a change in government as well. So it's probably a prime time to kind of really push some of this stuff through, because you've got a new government, you've got some hopefully motivated new MPs, you never know. So it's probably a good time to kind of really push for some of this stuff and keep working at it to kind of make a difference to dog welfare. Because I think, it's a really important one. I think with the dog attacks and the situation that we're in the UK at the moment, we want that is a really key time in terms of where that pendulum kind of swings, whether it swings kind of more the American way of keeping dogs on more restriction, potentially building up more frustration. When I was in America, you know, it's kind of sometimes a little bit depressing seeing all these places that you know, just dogs can't go off lead in the same way that they can in the UK with their leash laws. It's really, really crazy. And I think, you know, actually promoting welfare legislation in the UK that means that we're facilitating dogs having good welfare, but we're also protecting people is really, really important. I think it's kind of prime time to kind of really, really push that now.
Yeah, it's we've been doing a lot recently on looking at the wider picture of everything. And when you were talking there about the government change and all of this, I don't think enough of us, and I'm speaking for ourselves as well, like we have still got some work to do on this, but taking into consideration just how big of an impact the wider marketplace has on you as an individual, running your business, helping Joe Public with their dog. Like there is so much stuff happening. And like you say, if it is going to go closer to how the states are working with these leash laws and everything, then that is going to have an impact on your business.
Yeah. And you potentially could get more problems where if we have dog parks, for example, look at all the issues that come off the back of lots of frustrated dogs being let off lead together in a unsupervised space like that. So then they could have, you know, people could be dealing with more problems of that kind of respect. So it, like Joe says, it's good to just keep looking at that wider marketplace and see where it's going and the trajectory it's going on, because it impacts everybody in the industry.
Yeah. And I can appreciate just personally how difficult that is because, well, Vic and I are the same in that we don't like watching the news. We feel like it depresses us a lot. It's just, it doesn't help our flow on anything. However, more so in recent months, we're like, do you know what? It is super important to actually have this awareness because it does impact how you are going to be able to run your business, and you may have to start changing how we're doing things. So we're already talking about us doing things differently in our dog training business. But even when like taking it back to earlier when I think you were talking about doing like behavioral classes, it's starting to think, what does dog training, dog behavior, dog support, whatever category you want to put it under, what does that look like for 2024? And what does that look like for 2030?
Yeah. And also what needs to be changed from the older models, which have been going since time began in dog training, and looking at it differently and going, does that still work? Does that still get the results for people? And how can we, you know, deliver it for owners who need our help so desperately? So I think, you know, I think that's really nice that you're looking at that kind of behaviour side of how can you do classes slightly differently? How can you set it up for success? And I'm guessing that's where the driver behind that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think tying into kind of the classes thing and I suppose the sort of the wider picture thing, I think, again, by no means am I great at any of this stuff, and I'm not one to have done a lot of this. But you know, I think, you know, even reaching out to your local government, you know, your local council, thinking about actually, can we use this space? Can we use this park as a potential place to do some training? You know, can we set up some sort of dog fair where people learn about dogs? Can we do this? And, you know, actually seeing what we can do to just kind of promote some education and promote some, I suppose, changing the public perception around dogs and changing the way people interact with dogs, even just in your local area, because it all makes a really, really big difference. I mean, again, as I said, I've just not had time to kind of really invest in this sort of stuff lately. But you know, there's a business based around in Kent that goes around to lots of schools, as similar to us in terms of being a dog behaviour business, offering lots of behaviour consultations, classes, similar things to that. And they go around lots of schools and actually educate kids, looking at how to interact with dogs and how to read dog body language and doing things like that. And actually, you know, kind of, as I say, reaching out to local councils, local government, thinking about whether there's that scope to set up dog fairs, set up things things that will have a really positive impact on your community, I think can have a really big difference in terms of actually shaping your business trajectory long term, because it shapes kind of that mindset that people are coming into to your business. Because I would say, in fact, with my website, I do pick up a certain type of client, and that is the type of client that I will like working with. And I think that's partially because of the way I work my website, partially because of the way I deal with people when I'm doing a discovery call, and people that I generally don't want as clients don't generally get in touch as much. And I think then kind of the next step of that is if you can actually funnel people to become the clients that you want, because they're coming in with a really nice attitude and mindset because of the work you're doing in the local community, because of what you're doing to change public perception around dogs. Again, I think that would be just so cool. Something I'm totally guilty of not doing enough of, but I think
I'm not surprised you haven't got time.
I was going to say, you've got enough on your plate, haven't you? Have we got any?
We have. So Emily has just commented saying, these things add a social value aspect to your business too, which I think is quite important. It's very important. And I feel like we could almost encompass everything that we've spoken about today under a very large umbrella, but making sure that we have an awareness for what the business is trying to achieve, how you can look at things differently, being able to identify that client that feels right for you and that you're going to enjoy working with, how then we can start thinking bigger picture in bringing behavior and training into these late 2020s that we're coming into now. What does that look like? And collaboration. Like, it all just kind of envelops nicely. And I don't think there is enough awareness of just how much everything is so interlinked and interconnected, that if you do part of this puzzle piece, it affects this part over here. And you have to keep looking at that bigger picture, but knowing exactly the strategic next step on what you're going to be able to do with it.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Are there any other questions on Facebook? We've got quite a few viewers, so do let us know if there is anything you want us to ask, or if you've got any comments on it. We would love to hear from you.
I just want to loop back to what you were talking about collaboration earlier. And you were saying that in your local area that you've moved from, you had a really nice network of people that would refer to each other. Where did that come from? Like, how did that start? Was that you reaching out, or was that because that's the big thing, isn't it? How, it takes one person to start something like this, doesn't it? And almost have a ripple effect. So was that you as a result of you reaching out in the first instance?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think it's sort of word of mouth to a certain extent. So I knew maybe one or two other dog trainers personally, and then they would say, "Oh, have you heard about this person?" And then maybe you would see their businesses on Facebook. You'd follow their businesses on Facebook, maybe see them on local groups, and then you just kind of get to the point where actually it was an event that I bumped into a couple of them at one time, and then got to chat to them a little bit. So it's just kind of organically formed. But I think, if you're not sort of lucky in that way that you kind of just run into them, and you kind of have that opportunity to organically build up that communication. I mean, one thing is where I lived, you kind of quite often ran into other dog trainers in the local walking spots as well. But I think, definitely reaching out to people is always good. I think, a lot of people are really, really scared of competition, as you guys were saying. And I think I've certainly heard some horror stories about how people have treated competition. So I think, I understand why people are hesitant to do that. But I think, if you go in with an open mind, and that, if there is that risk, of course, that maybe they'll be a bit standoffish, maybe it won't go as well as you hoped. But I think if you go in with an open mind, leave that door open if they don't want to communicate particularly, you're not going to do any harm, hopefully. I think I understand it is a kind of, it can feel like a bit of a scary one, I think, because of the way, some people behave. And I think it is an industry-wide thing, is there's a lot of fear of competition. I think you see that even within people kind of on the educational side of the industry as well. I think there is a lot of fear of competition. And I think that only leads to people becoming more isolated and not being able to offer such great products. And I think that the kind of really embracing your competition is such a valuable thing, whatever you're thinking about, whether you're thinking about, on a local basis, on maybe an online education basis, on a conference basis. I think the conference basis is a really interesting one, even because I think, perhaps this is controversial to say, but I think there is probably only a finite amount of conferences that can happen successfully on the topic of dog behavior in the UK. Because, they cost a lot of money to attend a conference. We have really high overheads. So we need to sell, for this one, for example, we need to sell at least 150 tickets. Tickets cost about £250 to £300 a ticket. People aren't going to be able to attend an infinite amount of conferences. So that's why I think, actually, if you've got those channels open and someone says, oh yeah, I'm looking at organizing a conference on this, or yeah, I want to organize an event on that. And then you can say, actually, do you know what? Can we look at combining our events somehow? Can we look at actually how you can integrate what you want to do with what I want to do somehow? Because I think that means that you get a more well-rounded event. So this is like, I know we were chatting about, and this isn't to say with your conference, because I know it's kind of the other side of the UK and it's a different topic, but I know we were chatting about, even potentially doing something business related at one of the ABK conferences, which could be a really cool thing at some point in the future. And I think tying things in like that is really valuable, because if you think about that from the perspective of the consumer, actually a big part of the costs of going to a conference is not just the ticket for the conference, but it's the travel, it's the hotel, it's the getting a dog sitter in for your dog or your pets. And it's, taking time off work, even potentially, actually, being self-employed, most of us, right? If we don't work, that actually costs us money, right? It's expensive. So I think actually sometimes combining some of those educational events, and this is what you'll see from us in the next few years, is we're starting to combine a lot more things with the ABK conference, because it gives the other people the opportunity to organize the events they want, and it pays off for us both, and also pays off for our customers, because then if they want to come to both events, it's cheaper for them than having to go to one event in Kent, where ours is, and one event in wherever else, and travel miles and all of this. So I think that's quite a valuable thing as well.
I love the way that you look at that. And it's coming down to that, like, you're looking at it from everybody's perspective. You're looking at it from a benefit for you, a benefit for the people you collaborate with, and the clients at the end of the day, the customers that you're going to have at those events. Like, you're thinking of it in terms of their perspective as well. And I think, that reaching out to other people is really important, but it is really hard for people. And I think some of it comes down to the fear of vulnerability, because you're putting yourself out there, and also the fear of rejection, I think, is big. What if they say no? What if they...
Let's face it, a lot of people do say no.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have met if you hadn't have said yes.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
So yeah, when everyone's reaching out initially and going like, oh, can I just either have a look at how you're doing things and how can we do anything, the amount of people that we hear and have experienced ourselves that go, nope, not coming through the doors. You are a threat. You are a threat to my business. You are going to take all of my stuff away. You are going to take all of my clients. And you can see it's a totally illogical thought, really, but it's one that's very prevalent. It's very high up on everybody's mind.
I lost count of the amount of people that reached out to me over the years, in the sort of 16 years I was doing the training business, to go, can I just come and not necessarily shadow you for any period of time, but just come and watch a class, or come and see what you do and find out about, just watch you do your craft, basically, to see like how it inspires me to do mine if they're looking at getting into the industry. And the amount of people that would say, oh my God, you're the only person that said yes to it. Everybody else has gone, no, we don't let outsiders in, or like weird comments like that. And it's kind of, again, it's these walls of protection that go up and be like, what's their real intention? And I think we're very suspicious in this industry of going, what do they actually want? What are they trying to get out of me? And again, I think if you're really confident in what you do, and I think like I was. So I was like, you can't be me. You can try and mimic it, but you will never be me. So that's why I was always okay with it, you know? So
yeah, you're right. No one will ever be you.
Well, then no. And I don't know if I'd want anyone else to be me, to be honest. It's hard work sometimes.
I mean, it gives me a question for you guys, because I think one of the barriers that I find with, and I have had people shadowing me, but every time someone emails me, it's not that I worry about the business, but I'm like, oh my God, that's like an extra thing to set up.
Yeah.
Particularly because I primarily do behavior consultants, where I go to people. So then I've got to let the person know that someone's there. I've got to let them know when it's there. To me, it's just like a headache to organize. So I suppose I wonder do you guys have any thoughts on actually how you make that process easier? Because that's a big barrier for me on letting people shadow. It's just the inconvenience of it.
Yeah, the logistics are trickier when it's a one-to-one setting. If it's a class, which it was in my case for many years, it was like, yeah, come along, and no work needed from my point of view, really. So.
Yeah. My answer may sound, it may come across as a little bit crass, which is not my intention. It's, for me, I would be looking at the business model, like we've done with our training business, and gone, is there an element of that we want to do properly and professionally and give people the opportunity to come in, because we know it's there. We know that that's part of our thing. So if we are going to take that decision and go, that is part of our overall strategy and mission and vision for our business, that we want to use that business to almost achieve the mission for Canine Business Academy, which is to uplift and collaborate and do all that stuff. If that was the purpose of the dog training business, I would absolutely have a product, service, time availability, something that was strategically planned in to go, right, on the third Friday of every month, it's shadowing day, which means my clients are prepped in advance that they know that this is going to happen. I would have the ability for people to Zoom in, so I can just take my laptop and they all just watch via a Zoom link. Or if you are local, then how can we do it where we can set something up and potentially the dog comes to you and you incorporate it as a part of, maybe once a week, we sit down on a Zoom and we have a chat. So if I was strategically thinking of it from a business answer, that would be what I would do. And potentially that may come at a cost of some sort, or an investment from the person doing it. Or alternatively, if it's a genuine, you're trying to connect, which is essentially what we're building this business on as well. And it's how we've managed to get some amazing podcast guests, yourself included. It's reaching out and going, hi, like, do you fancy just jumping on a Zoom and having a chat? Or do you want to go for a coffee? Or actually just being a human being and not going, oh, what can I get from you? Or thinking, oh, hold on, what do they want from me? It's a genuine, hi, I'm Joe, this is Vicky. Compliment the other person, because you're reaching out to them for a reason. So if you're reaching out to another dog trainer, so I think like when I first reached out to you, Vic, it was, here's my genuine reason. So I am trying to do APDT accreditation. They've asked me to go and have a look at other, I have to really slow down to get this acronym, APDT trainers to go, can you have a little look around? So therefore, there's my main reason. I'll literally just come in to watch so I can do my assessment. That's it. That's all I want it for. And then we got on. So it's like, oh, let's go for a coffee. Let's develop the relationship. And then I've done that with quite a few other people. In fact, we did it a few weeks ago, didn't we? With another local trainer that we were considering bringing into our business and going, do you want to actually evolve together? Let's go for a coffee. So we met up with Starbucks with our dogs. I was like, hi, like, I've seen you around. You literally live down the road from me. Your business looks like it's doing amazing, like social media, like all the good stuff that's out there. But it's like, let's just go for a coffee. And arguably we are direct competitors, but we're not, because I think when you look at it logically, and I get again that this is hard, even if you was to count the 50 houses in a block radius to where you live and assume every single house had a dog, could you realistically take 50 dogs on yourself? Probably not. Or if you are, geez, you are going to burn out. You're not going to be very effective in what you're doing. But could you realistically take on 50 dogs? And then, we've now done that. And then the next block has got another 20 dogs. Could you realistically take on now 70?
But I guess if you don't look at it in any other way, as much as like the more you know about other trainers in the area, the more you can feel confident to refer the ones where you get inquiries that don't suit you anyway. So I think even if you don't want to like get close to people and kind of do too much with them, I think surely collaborating with people so that you can have that referral kind of back and forth is good as well. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that builds goodwill as well, doesn't it? If I get a referral and it's like, whoever referred me from down the road, it's like, well, that's quite nice.
It's a nice fuzzy feeling inside, isn't it?
It's a little bit warm, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
nice.
So no, I think that would be my answer on how to tackle it. I think there's two arms to it. There's a genuine, if you want to go for a coffee and a catch up, that's absolutely fine. But actually, if I want to make this part of my business that I'm going to help others, then
it's more of an education.
Then it needs to be crafted into the business so you can do your best with it.
Yeah.
But then coffee catch
build it into a product.
Fine. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I've seen, interestingly enough, a few places that do something along those lines now, actually, where they've kind of formalized it a little bit more, which I think I've not met any of the students of it that have, to hear how it was, but I know Behaviour Vets have done that. I don't know what it's like, but it looks like a really interesting sort of experience for anyone that's kind of looking for that sort of mentorship. And actually, interestingly enough, and maybe this is another thing to think about on it, is a lot of what they do with that is online consulting as well. And I suppose that might be a little bit easier if you're doing an online consultation for someone to shadow. Obviously, you're not going to see as much practical stuff, but for some cases that might work quite well. For example, separation anxiety cases, I don't know about you guys, but I think work quite well online because you can have the person leaving and coming out and in and out of the room and it's like you're not there and you can really coach them. I tend to have people on like a Zoom call and then also a phone call. So you can kind of see and then also just tell them exactly what to do. It's quite fun. But yeah.
Yeah, it's there's lots to be done. And I think actually this time, everything that we've been talking about. Adam, I hope this kind of answers your question because Adam has put any tips for networking and collaboration with other professionals when you're new to the industry and don't have a name for yourself. I hope that answers it because actually I don't think it's about having a name for yourself at all. I think it's about genuinely just reaching out. Like I say, we didn't have a name for ourselves on Canine Business Academy and now there's 30,000 downloads of this podcast. So arguably 30,000 people now know our name. I don't know. Don't know if that's how it works.
Hopefully they're paying
attention. But nobody's ever going to know you unless you go and introduce yourself and say, "Hi, I'm Adam." It's like this is what we need to do. And then what has Mel put? Mel's put, need a conference like this in Scotland. We always miss out with crying emoji faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a good event in Scotland recently I went to with Elliot Connor and Kathy Murphy and Simon Gabois. So there is one or two good things up there. I'm sure there'll be more. But maybe this is where we guys should all try and organise something, go up to Scotland and
we could do a road show. We could do multiple locations.
I am down for this.
Out of a truck.
Out of a truck. Just throwing in more constraints.
Like the old Radio 1 like road shows. Weren't they out the side of a truck?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a different vibe. It will be a different vibe to Radio 1, I'm sure. But, why not?
We can bring Radio 1
I think there's a lot to be said as well for, the fact that there are a lot of conferences in one place. But if you develop, the big educational conference with that kind of consistent flow through where all the speakers work together and then they say, do you know what, we're going to do this conference here first, then we're going to do it here, then we're going to do it here. And by the time you're on the third one, everyone, say if you've done it in the UK first, so you've done it in the south of England first, and then you do it in the Midlands, and then you do it in Scotland. By the time you get to the Scotland one, everyone in Scotland's, oh, this sounds amazing.
Yeah,
everyone went down south, went to it. The Midlands guys went to it. We've got amazing buzz. So yeah, I just think interestingly that the conference market, it is hard, and a lot of people really, really struggle to sell their tickets for conferences. People really, really struggle. People are struggling in the US, people are struggling in the UK. But I think equally there might be an element of we need to sometimes take things to the next level with how we do conferences and actually kind of really change our way of thinking about them a little bit to make them more appealing, I guess.
And
Yeah.
more accessible, i.e. the roadshow.
Mal's added to that saying multiple locations.
Oh,
Good Lord.
Well done, Mal.
Put that on the marketing.
Oh, fab. Well, Daniel, I feel like I could talk to you all day long because it's just fun. But I am conscious that everyone who normally watches the show has got lives and work and everything else, and probably doesn't want to listen to us ramble all day long. So
Would you like to share, if people want to know more about you or your conference, which is coming up, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so my conference, after me just saying it's been difficult for many people to sell tickets for conference, my conference has actually sold out.
Oh, has it? Oh, okay.
So we're quite
for next
lucky.
year then.
So next year, keep an eye out for next year. We're going to be announcing it probably on November the 24th, which is the last day of this year's conference. There's going to be a cool, very exciting announcement. We have some awesome things planned. And if you do want to see this year's, you can still get the virtual tickets. So if you just visit Animal Behaviour Kent, our website, you can find the conference section of the page and get virtual tickets. And I can provide you guys the link for that if you would like. So if you are still wanting to tune in virtually, it's an awesome lineup. As you say, we've got Michael Shikashio, we've got Sindor Panga, we've got Sarah Fisher, Robert Falconer-Taylor, Amber Batson, Andrew Hale, Helen Howell, some just really, really awesome people coming. So it's very, very, very exciting. And anything that I do is really on that ABK website. You can go to ABK Learn if you want the online platform for my online stuff, and or just follow us on Facebook to just kind of keep up with what's going on. But yeah, definitely keep your ears to the ground with 2025 because we sold out and there are a lot of people that felt like were a bit disappointed to not get tickets for 2024, which I felt awful about. So we're organising the 2025 one as soon as possible afterwards. It's only going to be about 8 months between them, which is really quite soon after. It will be fantastic. It's going to be a very, very cool event. It's going to be, hopefully just as, if not more exciting than 2024. That's this year, 2024. Possibly not more exciting, because I don't know quite how we'll be able to top this year. I think it should be hopefully on a par with the amazing speakers of this year. And definitely check that out.
Exciting. Another sellout by the sounds of it then.
Well, that's the hope.
And very last question that we always ask our podcast guests. So I know we're kind of doing this as a hybrid of the training show as well. But who do you know that would be a good fit for our podcast to come on as a guest?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Oh, okay.
We always like putting people under pressure on here.
Oh, so there are lots of really, really good people. I am a really big fan of Bobby Banbury and the work she's doing at Behaviour Vets, and she runs the education department at Behaviour Vets. So she's probably a really interesting person to talk to about actually the business side of that. So she's been doing some really cool stuff with the Resilience Rainbow Tour and organising that side of things. And I think, her and Kathy Murphy, Food Behaviour Vets, have been touring that all over the States. And then she also organises all the sort of the webinars and online side of stuff, I think still. Not sure if she might have moved position now, but so she's got some really, really cool insights into some of the business side of things. So I'd definitely speak to her if you get the chance.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Well, definitely.
Indeed. Fabulous. Right, well, we will end it there today. So thank you to everyone who's listened, and thank you to everyone who has watched. Podcast listeners, if you want to get in on our bi-weekly training, then you can hop into our Facebook group, which is where we do all of these. And we will put the link in the show notes so you can follow that. And I've just seen a load of love hearts come flying up on my screen, which confused the life out of me whilst I was doing it. So thank you, whoever has just done all of that. We hope you
always a good sign.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, just what happened? I thought I'd press something. No, thank you for the love, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us, Daniel. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for having me. It's been great. And yeah, I really look forward to being involved with launching your new course as well next week. Is it? No, you have told me this. And I've just got
Actually, it's next week.
I'm really
Yeah,
sorry.
it is.
Yes, no, it is. It will be next week. No, you are right.
Yeah.
You are right. So yeah, so keep an eye out, everybody, for that on both Daniel's pages and ours, because it's going to be good.
Good luck with it. It'll be awesome. Yeah, I think anyone that's getting into business, it is going to be absolute go-to, isn't it? So yeah.
We hope
really
so.
Looking forward to being involved in kind of sharing it and promoting it.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you ever so much, Daniel.
Thank
See you later.
you.